subject that was, being tossed about by
I wasn't willing to
unknown
just
forces.
receive. Exactly. I wasn't...
So I postulate that based on a life of you made some choices and then felt you didn't have the choice to unmake those choices, that you and the work you did before you got sick, that clearly something saw that I see this disease as really a blessing for you, because it's like you were chosen to go through this because you were strong enough to go through this in a different way than many beings do. And I mean, we're in the middle of our lives. All of us are kind of midlife, or maybe we're really young, life extension. And the story's not complete. So we're in the middle of an unfolding story called our lives. And, what I'm seeing is I feel very inspired that your story is a real blessing. Yes, and you've also, the biggest blessing is you've realized you don't have to go through that kind of lesson again. And, but this is a story that could be very beneficial to many others who are trapped by their own design of how they've shaped their lives and then believing they have no choice. My mother had that.
Right.
And my mother thought she was trapped. That's interesting.
And to do the work before we're in trouble.
Yes. So
right.
you had
that's the point, isn't it?
It's like you had a library, because suddenly you got a huge project, but you had a resource library.
I did, exactly. I had people, and I think, speaking of library, lots of good things to read and study, and exactly. So
what a library of relevant material, and so it's your story. It's very inspiring, because I speak with people and they feel illness is the end. For the last 4 years, I've been working with teachings and practices of a Tao master. And so when you say you suffer for 3 days with a cold, I can tell you, you don't have to. You don't have to even get sick. So we can talk more about that sometime.
I think that maybe Beth is referring to the fact that she's conscious of the symptoms.
Absolutely.
Just don't sleep. I just don't sleep.
But I can say that, you may be, it may not be necessary.
It's not such a bad thing not to sleep.
It's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing, especially if you can, not let it be debilitating to you. I mean, if you actually find a conscious point to being awake that long, then it really is worth the journey. Although at the time, I never would have gotten on this boat if I'd have known where it was going, kind of thing. If we can actually find a conscious reason for having gone through something, I think that really changes it, converts the energy into something that is beneficial, conscious, transformative.
Make it something meaningful.
Exactly.
Like don't look for the meaning in it. There's something. It's like no. I'm going to transform this experience of suffering into some new thing. That's like, again, the artistic thing that how many songwriters will take a bad breakup and they write a song and it turns into something impeccably beautiful, and it is some new thing.
And what's just taking the energy and converting it into creativity.
Exactly.
It's transforming that energy. And interestingly enough, when we transform the energy, we're not suffering.
No.
The suffering transforms too.
Yeah, that's right. Or it becomes integrated rather than sloughed off, as if we could do that.
Right. There is this notion that you have to change something, transforming something. But maybe there's a... What is it?
It's like every time a flower unfolds more, it doesn't erase
its closure.
Its original place of growth. Like nothing gets erased, right? The growth just keeps expanding, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think there's a Taoist term: doing nothing, nothing is left undone. Something like that. Something of that nature.
Nice.
Yeah, and so. Yeah, in that context, to live skillfully means not rejecting anything of what we are. Wow. That's kind of interesting, because we've been conditioned to accept and reject.
Totally. And like, just to say that we're all at the same place all the time. Like to say that, I had this 10 years meditation behind me and then I was really equipped. And it's like, no, every single day I wake up, I am faced with the exact same challenge I was 25 years ago, 10 years ago, while I'm sick,
so
while I'm well.
Sense, it's still the same day.
It's still the same. It's always the same day. And so never to think like, oh, this person's at that place and I'm here. It's like,
this is where I am on the path, and I'm
That's
down
right.
here.
Yeah,
that hierarchical kind of approach.
Yeah.
When you look at the totality, and if we're on our way to perfection, and we realize perfection, then what's the rest of it being?
And if you keep your eye on the goal, say the goal is evolution of the soul, then then it's like you said, every little experience we can use for that purpose.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And eventually we forget what the goal is and just live it.
We'll be like it. Yeah, we're ready.
That'd be nice if that happened. I don't think so.
The story
That's
is
the next one
done.
for you, Beth. Well, no. I mean, isn't that Chogyam Trungpa, great Vajrayana dude, wrote a book about a journey without goal. In other words, the journey, it's not the point of where you're going. It's where you are right now, every moment. That's of real significance, because you can't be there when you're here. Here is where you are, right now, here. Be fully here, always here, not there, here, now, not what I just said now, but now. And that is, that's the secret. If you want to know the secret of existence, is that. Just be here, not in some now that's, always talking about now. If you're really now, you're too busy being, rather than thinking that here I am now.
So when you are here now, if now is not exactly to your preference, then transform the now.
Well, even that.
So transform yourself.
Yeah.
Evolve your soul. Right?
Or get out of the way.
Maybe we can't change this situation.
Yeah.
There are, we're having a child, right? Like there, you have to go some pretty extreme measures to change that situation.
Into that we can't change what is, but we can learn to like it.
Yeah, we can evolve ourselves. That's the part, and that's.
I just find in the liking of it that it changes. That's just my own experience. I'm saying, so I'm postulating that.
But I think what you're saying is just let it be as it is, and don't judge it.
Yeah, again, like how can I become more effulgent? How can I unfold to a greater awareness and a deeper level of complexity of my soul, even though I totally don't like what's going on, even though I know I'm not even destined to be going through this. Like you can have that deep awareness. This isn't even my thing.
This isn't even my life. How come I'm living
it? Exactly. But if we...
How do I effulge this?
Yeah.
Effulge.
So, yeah, just like getting back to that basic thing. Like, well, how can I in this moment transform that? For example, I feel trapped in my kitchen sometime. I've got this not only fascination with good food, but this idea that I really want to provide good, nourishing meals for my son and I. And I'm like 18 hours in the kitchen making all these wild concoctions.
Wow.
And, and I mean, it's all fun until you have to clean up. And then, and I can get into this dark, like, oh, what have I done to myself? I'm like totally trapped and I should be showering or something. I know I mention that a lot. It goes by the wayside often. And, just like, okay, well, I can sing mantra. And it'll be the hardest thing for me to remember. I can sing mantra. Okay, so for like 45 minutes it takes me to clean up, I'm just going to repeat this mantra. Repeat. And then by the end, I've completely transformed my experience and my job is done. That's, a very concrete example. But there's ways we can engage with ourselves.
Whereas if you've done that job with the mantra of whatever that dark place you're in, because that's a mantra.
That's right.
You just basically...
Yeah, the mantra of the dark place.
Change the mantra.
That's right. Do something that is consciously, I know, is going to evolve me completely refreshed,
so
actually.
That's the discipline.
That's the thing.
Well, that's what I've found,
the practice,
too.
Right? That was the point.
That is what I've found, is that, like, people don't really like the dirty jobs. They don't like to get into the dirt or into the mire, into the stinking swamp of samsara, as they say.
You're saying that nobody wants to be an archangel?
Yeah, well, it's not that. It's just that when you actually embrace it, when you just allow it, welcome it in, so to speak.
Yeah. Like the Buddhist technique of breathing in.
Suddenly that mire, that ooze that seems to be, what you don't want, the least of what you want, that releases. If you just accept it, it reveals itself.
Like the lotus, that likes to grow in the worst possible ground.
Right.
The muckiest muck.
And
Nothing wants to grow there.
And the most beautiful blossom. Sacred symbol. Yeah, the most beautiful blossom. And it's, I feel like this is the whole point of it. Even like, Jesus being born in a manger. They weren't fit to live in a human habitation. They had to go where the animals were. Right? Into a stable.
The human world had no.
Exactly. And so, it's a message, whether we perceive it or not, that, go into your place where you don't want to be sometimes and just hang out, just sit with it. Totally. Sit with the one that you don't really want to be with, just for a moment, and just let it, just be as it is,
and let the emotions that are associated with that really come
exactly, and just notice it. Just notice.
Be present, exactly.
Like you're someone else.
Witnessing.
Witnessing, like you said, that witnessing part is very
crucial.
It's very important to releasing that energy.
Because just going into the identification with that and going into taking the thoughts as if they're my thoughts and the feelings, well, that's just continuing on.
That's being looped into that recurring cycle. But if you can just see yourself just for an instant as if you weren't yourself, or at least yourself as you thought yourself to be.
I may not be myself.
But ultimately, when we've talked a lot about the self and the soul. But at some point, some mystics have said that in order to realize fully what we truly are, we have to let go of ourselves. St. John of the Cross had to let go of God totally, where there was not God. Now, this is blasphemy, I'm sure, to all those that hang on to God, but maybe that's just the point, that when we get to that point of departure or arrival, I don't know which, maybe both, that means letting go of everything. You might say letting go of our most precious idea, our most precious sense of being, even. To just I can't let go of God. How can I? But
well, it sounds like that was Beth's experience, because she had to let go of everything she'd been holding on to.
Yeah,
that sounds like she
definitely.
That.
And yet here we sit, and the thing is that we continue, and the continuing is just obviously a greater and greater revelation. I can't express that. When I say I used to have a language where I didn't use I, because it was truer to the reality of it. And to try and communicate with the language that we have been basically programmed into using, which is all based on dualistic notions and then apparent attempts at balancing those dualistic notions. If we started out without any of that, it would be very hard to speak the language that is truly us and have it be heard. And that's why a lot of the time, like the great, you've heard of Meher Baba, I'm sure. Meher Baba?
No.
He was considered the avatar of this age. That's probably why you haven't heard of him. But he chose the path of silence. He basically didn't talk, and yet he communicated very clearly to his disciples, many disciples. And you've heard of it. You've heard the Who's "Hear Me, See Me, Feel Me, Hear Me." From Tommy. See me, feel me, touch me, heal me. That one. I'll get it for you.
All right.
But anyway, that was dedicated to Meher Baba.
Okay.
Believe it or not, Pete Townshend's guru is Meher Baba.
There you go.
But there you go. But the thing is, you know who Pete Townsend is?
Yes.
Okay, good. But the thing is, anyway, he communicated just through presence.